Welcome, everybody. This is another episode of Dreamer Talks presented by Craft Your Dream, Inc. I am your host, 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐿 Jr. I am joined by a titan in the finance field, Rob Gill. He is the founder and owner of Epic Financial Strategies. Brother, how are you?
What's up, Javon?
How's everything?
I am so honored to be on your show right now, and I'm excited for what's going to happen.
Man, thank you. Honestly, it means a lot. We've been talking about this for a while.
Yeah.
So it's nice to finally get in here in your offices and make this happen.
Absolutely.
So I want to jump right in. Give me your definition of success.
That's a great question. For me, success is, and I've had different variations of it throughout my life. Some of it was material success. Some of it was emotional success. Some of it was parenting success. And I think if I'm going to distill it down to something globally and universally, I would say success to me equals fulfillment.
Fulfillment. Now that's a big question. I think that's one of those words that are used a lot by people right now. So talk to me about fulfillment for you, right? Like where did that start? Because I feel like in order for you to experience fulfillment, you have to experience being empty. So like where's your start? What's the origin story of Robert Gill?
Yeah, so the journey goes back in time.
Okay.
Right? So if you look at, for me, there's always been a blueprint and a life condition. And a blueprint is, wow, wouldn't that be great if this happens? And then when I show up to this, the life condition seems to be a little bit different than what the blueprint was.
Right.
So that means I wasn't feeling fulfilled.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I was feeling disconnected. So my journey begins, I grew up in Bayonne. We're here in New Jersey in Red Bank. I grew up in Bayonne, 75,000 people, 3 miles. Everybody knew each other's business. There was, I think, 14 grammar schools in a 3 mile radius.
Okay. Yeah.
So there was like competitive, everything was competitive from day one. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm the youngest of 4 children. Between me and the next youngest was 8 years. And, you know, when I look at my early years, my parents worked real hard, although their education around money was very limited. And as a result of that limited belief and scarce mindset, always running out, always having money fears, bouncing checks.
Yeah.
It was present in my life, you know, early on. Mm-hmm. And as I got later on in life into the financial services industry, one of the things I did a calculation on was a lost opportunity cost on putting money somewhere else. And my dad, love him to death, may he rest in peace, he used to buy lottery tickets every day. Mm-hmm. Right? Let's say if he spent $10, $20 a day on lottery tickets, but he did it every day for like 20 years. Mm-hmm. So when I did the calculation and then I made a return on that, and then factored in 20 years later, it was like a $2 million, $3 million difference. That could have been a nice retirement package.
Absolutely.
Right? And I don't think my dad's alone in that space. I think that that's a very normal thing. Whether it happened when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s or to this day, I think that's what happens a lot. And I think it's because folks just don't know that there's really a way to create your own financial security and financial abundance. That's right.
Yeah.
So abundance and scarcity is what fulfillment is.
Absolutely. So walk me back. So you said that you did this calculation with your dad, spending all this money on lottery tickets and things like that. Yeah. Did that lack of knowledge between your family and things like that, like, I guess what I wanted to ask is, what exactly brought you to finances? Like, what made you draw you to that field?
Just growing up in a scarce money mindset, seeing other people's, let's say my community that either had that mindset or didn't, and noticing the difference. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I was in high school, my parents struggled so bad, and I said that when I grow up, I'm not going to bring this to my wife and kids. So fast forward in my mid-20s, a friend of mine got me a job on Wall Street, and that's really how everything started for me, where I wanted to get educated about money, but I also wanted to educate people about money. And it wasn't just about me getting educated, but it was also bringing forth an education to people to let them know that you know, you too can create financial freedom if you have the map and the tools and the education and what that looks like.
So I'm hearing you say that basically from that scarcity of information of finances, it then led you to your destination of fulfillment in teaching other people financial literacy, right? So is that how Epic got started, from just that understanding and like that fulfilled you?
Yeah, so Epic started out in 03, 04. Okay. And it was originally Gill Financial Group. And along the way, we went through many transitions as we began to earn money and kind of break through the generational ceiling that was within the Gill family.
Yeah.
And but we didn't know how to handle the money. It was new to us.
Yeah.
We didn't know. Right? I mean, so my initial wave of money was like a black 560 Mercedes. Right? Yeah. Now I have a white one. Yeah. But now we own some companies.
Absolutely. Right.
And I had a really cool gold chain. It was white gold diamonds. Yeah. And that was my first step of success because I wanted to show everybody who I was. Not the right kind of thinking. Right? Absolutely. I had a chip on my shoulder. But that's a result of the scarcity mindset. It is. Right? Yeah. So EPIC, which stands for Empower, Protect, Integrate, Coordinate. Yep. My sister-in-law Kelly, who I think you've met.
Absolutely. Yep. Met Kelly.
She created that name. Really? She came up with the because we always say we want to help integrate and coordinate your whole world financially, but she actually established the EPIC, EPIC, and the logo, and she did that I think in 2015 or 16.
That's awesome. So I think I'm hearing so many things, right? So
it's Kelly Cole.
Kelly Cole, she's awesome. Love her.
She's a fiduciary. Check her out.
So it's like you created EPIC. EPIC was created from your fulfillment and wanting to teach people financial literacy as well as break these generational holds that have been over your family, right? So it's like you're accomplishing that goal that you set when you were determined when you were younger, like I'm going to operate at a different level when it comes to this. On top of you're figuring out now running this EPIC financial world, like you said, it was successful when you were operating in your level of purpose, but you're still figuring out the kinks. Yeah, right? Still figuring out the kinks, absolutely. There's always going to be something new. Yeah. But what was that whole process like for you? Like where you're learning, how to run a company, right? On top of, all right, I'm still kind of learning money and teach other people.
Yeah, so great question. And think of it in basketball terms at first, right? Think of a player looking over his shoulder, always getting taken out, and playing in that scarce mindset. Right?
Yeah. Gotcha. That makes sense.
And then that same player going to a different school, leveling up with players that eventually make it to the NBA. That's what I decided to do when I began to hang out with Chris Crone and 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞. Okay. Yeah. So I went from A school to a prep school.
Gotcha. So you changed your environment. You changed who you interacted with.
I think somebody said if you change your style up, watch the money pile up. I'm not sure who said it.
Somebody said it.
Somebody said it. And I think what happened with us is I had a first wave of immediate success from 2004 to 2010. Financial success. Yeah. Very dysfunctional though. I was a business operator, meaning a producer, but I wasn't a business owner.
So I want to different things. So 2 questions, right? I want to elaborate more on that. So you said that you were making money, but you were
not first. On my first time I game, I was making $12 grand a year. Okay. Then 28, then 42, then 75, then 150, then 75, then 125, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right.
So it's just building. Yeah. And so
all that time, just so we're clear, I was just a business operator. I'm sorry. Yeah, operator, not a business owner. Gotcha. So I didn't know how to scale.
Okay. Because that was going to be my question. Like, I had a chance. I might not know what that means. Like,
we're doing that now, but in 2008, 9, and 10, I had a chance to scale, and I completely dropped the ball.
Gotcha. So now,
felt the consequences of that.
And so you said you're learning that now, right? Yeah. And you said that you've changed your environment, who you interact with, and things like that. You mentioned leveling up. You mentioned 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐞 and Chris Crone.
Titans to me.
Now, definitely Titans in the field. Definitely every field they're in. So obviously, everyone has mentors. Everyone has those people they look up to. Tell me the difference between, what do you learn from Sean that you might not learn from Chris? What do you learn from Chris you might not learn from Sean? Explain to me that dynamic.
Great question. Sean's my brother. Sean both love me and I love both. Let me be clear. Yeah. But Sean just wants to put his arm around me and say, dude, what are you doing? Do this, and this. Right. And has a profound, let's put the money to the side because they're partners. He just wants me to get what he gets. Okay. Yeah, I don't even, and by the way, I'm a charge to Sean. I'm like a lightning rod. So, just taking us behind the scenes between the Rob Sean relationship, it's like he is constantly coaching me, and I'm just constantly making mistakes along the way, rising, but making mistakes. Chris loves me. Chris is younger. Sean's about a year older. Chris is like 10 years younger.
Yeah.
So when you think of those dynamics, those are at play. I met Chris through Sean, right? So I tracked Sean for 9 months before him and I started regularly speaking. Right? Chris and I had something that connected us right away.
Gotcha.
The second we spoke, we had a connection because what he does on his YouTube channel is where he's either doing peak performance coaching or using. I seen him do a video. Eddie Gardner pointed out to me. Eddie's my partner here. So check out this video Chris is doing, and what he was doing on his video is he was talking about life insurance as a turbocharger to go buy real estate.
Yes.
I've been doing that for the last 12 years.
Right. Yeah.
That's exactly what I do. Yeah. So when I connected with Chris, it was like boom, instant. And he was like, "Hey, let's partner." And Sean was like, "I'm not, because I had asked Sean for a year to be my partner, and he wouldn't do it yet, but he kept putting me on the stage, and he kept allowing me to speak in front of doctors. This is before he started on Blinded.
Yeah. Okay. So this is before. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that's when we formed our partnership. So Chris is let's call it a structured process mastery genius, as is Sean. But Sean brings a whole other level. Right. And Chris's method is just a little bit different. Yeah. He's had more seat time in the space of social media. Right. Sean is Sean could speak. Sean has the ability to set up a meeting with the president. Straight up. Sean he can meet with anybody in the world.
Absolutely.
Chris can actually create a social media platform that kind of touches the world, but Sean's ability to get to the biggest decision maker, there's no one I know, no one I've ever known, no one that I would ever come across again that has that ability.
And I can imagine that's probably because of just the age difference as well, right?
It's the age difference. Sean does have, and you've been to his event, he has a formula that, I used to say, no, it's the best formula ever. He literally has a map of a formula to the degree that you follow that formula will be the degree of success.
1,000%.
Chris has a formula on social media that produces predictable results, and he's now growing in those spaces in ways that he probably hasn't even never thought of 5 years ago. Right. And both are like just wild geniuses that are different yet the same. And sometimes I feel like I'm the luckiest man in the world, but it's not easy. It's not easy being.
It never is. It never is.
It's not glamorous.
So let me ask you this, right? So we talked about Sean, we talked about Chris. Is there anyone else in your life?
I don't want anybody else right now. I'm cool with those guys. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because we formed our partnership before Blinded was started. Blinded is on a massive acceleration model right now. Yeah. What those guys are doing is just incredible. The people that they're bringing out, they're going to start like a celebrity underground. Blinded group and athletes and. It's all happening. Right? I mean, like what they're doing is incredible. And my challenge is, because Sean gives me a lot of opportunities, and it's hard to keep pace with them while I'm doing this. And if Sean was sitting here and say, it's because you got to replace yourself, which by the way, he's right. But it's like follow through. Right. So you follow through, right? So you have to do it. Yep. Exactly. 1,000%. It's the same thing.
So you mentioned earlier, like how it's not easy. Right? So I want to tell me about.
I thought it was going to be easy.
You think, right? And even in these conversations, I think what gets lost a lot of the times where I met Sean, I met Chris, I started Epic, I did this, I did that, and I think people sometimes lose the fact that there's a lot of hard work that has to go into it. Like I remember you posted something on your Instagram before where right now a lot of people are selling the get rich quick schemes and everything.
There ain't no such thing.
Right? There's no such thing.
Run.
So
if somebody tells you that, run.
Right. Tell me about just your process of hard work to get to where you're at now. Explain that to me.
Great question. You got to keep doing this interview. You're very good. I mean that. So in 2017, I was looking for more. I had been looking for more for about 3 years. I started listening to Tony Robbins on YouTube. But I would listen to a message, a video, and it would prepare me for the meeting that I was about to have with a potential client. Gotcha. I had no structure. There was no syntax. Syntax means, Johnny ate the dog or the dog ate Johnny. Two different things, same words. So I had no structure, right? But I got to the point where I was like, wow, I want to go check out Tony Robbins because I read his book, Money Masters of the Game.
Yes.
What I recognized in that book is that as much education as he was spilling, and by the way, he was dropping knowledge on the difference between a fiduciary and somebody with a Series 7 suitability and what's in your best interest. Remember, a fiduciary is always in your best interest. They have to have your best interest.
Yep.
I'm not a fiduciary. My sister-in-law, my wife, and my partner John are.
Get with the team here at Epic. I'll leave it at that. Get with them here.
So what happened is I'm reading Tony's book. Education is unbelievable.
Yep.
But I realized something else. And even the guy that gave me the book that told me to open up an RIA, which by the way is what Janice owns.
Yes.
She owns the RIA. He didn't see this. And what Tony was doing, and this ties to your question, what Tony was doing is he had a book, educated people, and said, oh, by the way, if you want someone to check out your money, go check out these people over here. Mm-hmm. I recognized that he was referring business to somebody.
Yeah.
Right in the book.
And it's subtle, too.
And he was getting paid on it. And he even said he was getting paid on it. So I said, all right, 2 years later, so let me join Tony Robbins and make him my, this is how egotistical I was. I'll make him my partner. Yeah. Right? So you've been at the Prudential Center. So I go there, and there's like 18,000 people. Mm-hmm. And I realized at that moment that there's no chance Tony can be my partner. By the way, it's a limiting belief. He can be if I really want it. But this was my thought at the time. And it's when I met Sean a month and a half later that I was like, Sean 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐿, to me, Rob Gill, was the living proof of what Tony was talking about. No different, Trevon, that when I was growing up, my sister married Bob, her older brother. Yep. Bob, the coach of St. Anthony's. His son, Bob Jr., is my age. And I was a subpar basketball player. And he had the same height as me, same weight. We were both little, and he was literally, from 5th grade on, one of the best point guards in the country. He was the living proof for me. He was what possibility looks like. Yeah. I wasn't ready to take that at the time, but when I met Sean, because I saw that movie 30 years before, I was going to jump on it. Right.
So it's almost like you intangibly saw Tony Robbins, you read the book, you got that information, and like you said, you were just searching, you were ready to grow.
I was looking.
You were looking, right? And you made the jump by at least, I'm going to at least buy the book. Right? Like that's really step one. It's like, I'm going to buy this book. Heard good things, let's just read it and find out. Yep. And then that almost materialized into you going to the Prudential Center.
And by the way, and people make this mistake. I made the mistake like, I'm signing, it was $3,500. And I'm going to go see Tony, and you can get it, it's between like $700 and $30. I just happened to buy a package that had me on the floor. And I was like telling everybody, like, I'm going to go to join Tony. I'm going to go see Tony Robbins for 4 days, as if that meant I was going to make money. Mm-hmm. I forgot that I had to put the work in.
Oh, gotcha.
I forgot about that. Yeah, it was like I got the nice sweatsuit with the nice sneakers.
The look.
Yeah, I had the look. But and then when I was there, I was like, holy, you know what?
Yeah.
Now it's time to go to work. And then I resisted. I wanted to come run back to here, to my cozy world. Yeah. And then it was a month later when I met Sean. It just all started.
I think it's amazing, like when you think about success, right? And there's always like a wall you have to break through. And it's always the wall you never expect, right? Like, even for myself, like, I consider myself to be an extrovert. I feel like I can talk to anybody, right? But when I have to deal with, a conversation I need to have in order to grow, crack your dream, or anything like that, I'm always like, whoa, like, let me just retreat back. You're holding back. Yeah. And I think it's amazing to even hear a Titan like yourself basically deal with that same thing. Yeah. Because like what I was saying earlier, I think, we were talking about this before. There's so many people that just see, these people at these levels of success, and they almost give them a godlike concept. They give them like he's never experienced what I'm feeling. She's never experienced what I'm dealing with. Like they probably didn't have to work hard, whatever the case may be. So to hear, basically how you said, you come from where your family was financially illiterate, to how you basically put in the work. You got around the right people, did everything you needed to do, just took initiative, took steps, so you didn't even know where you were going necessarily, and it led you here.
Yeah, and the thing is, what I learned from my first wave of success, because I kind of thought I graduated when I started making some decent money. Yeah, there is no graduation. There's just constant elevation. Right. So I went on pause. When you go on pause, you actually fall back because the world kept spinning. Right? Yeah, they started getting ahead of me that weren't ahead of me because they kept they kept at it. They kept focusing on their game. When I met Sean and Chris, I'll use another basketball analogy. The speed of their game was fast. Right? It was fast. I wasn't used to that speed at first. Right? Same thing in Tony Robbins' world when I joined Platinum. The speed there with these entrepreneurs is fast. Yeah. It's real fast. And it's intimidating. So it's like, all right, let me just find my spot. Let me run to the corner and hit the open three. Right. Let me not dribble foul line to foul line. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Let me not slide my feet on deep. Let me get the ball and pass it right away. Right. So that's why I see that. I recognize that. In other situations, that's what I was doing initially. Yeah. On my journey as I stepped in with Sean and Chris.
So how did you break out of that? Right. So you said you were experiencing that where you're like, I'm just running the corner. I'm gonna just be here, but I'm gonna just stay distant. Like, how was there a moment where you were like, no, all right, I'm gonna do what I gotta do?
There wasn't the one breakout game. Okay. Right. There's more breakout practices that have resulted now in much better games. Okay. Much more of like 10 rebounds, like 7 rebounds, 8 points. 7 assists, couple of steals. Yeah, that's taking place now. I haven't had my breakout yet. Yeah, which I think is going to happen just based on what I've been doing. I just haven't had it yet, for sure. A couple of my team members have had breakout years, though. And what excites me about that is that, I've kind of stayed the same, but the company now is worth a lot more. And 4 or 5 individuals have like their best years ever in their life.
And that's during a pandemic too. So I want to pivot. Talk to me about that, right? So you've garnered all the success, right? In terms of you're building Epic, it's seeing some financial success. You're figuring it out. You're making moves. You're meeting the right people. Pandemic hits. Explain to me how you pivot. How did Epic pivot? Because from the outside looking in, you guys thrived. How does that happen?
I think that when you work hard, right? And when you begin to build the right kind of momentum around you, when something like the pandemic hits, even though at that point you didn't realize all the hard work was going to pay off, is when all the hard work paid off. Gotcha. So the stuff I had been doing with Sean and Chris leading up to the pandemic, which was about 1.5 years worth of work, created momentum for us. Pandemic hits, Chris Krohn's social media unblinded Infinity X. Now all of a sudden we're getting business over the telephone on Zoom. And we wound up, April, May, and June of last year, I think we did like maybe 250,000 in revenues. That's unheard of. When the world shut down. By the time we got to the end of the year, the company did 970,000 in revenues. Wow. Now, that's a big deal because 4 of my players had their best years ever. And to put into perspective on where we are today, we're already at 1.2 million revenues. Wow. Thank you. Congratulations. So that's where it's not me, the business operator. That's a reflection of the business being an owner of the business and working on the business versus in the business.
Gotcha.
Right? Okay, in the business, I only got so far, but on the business, we've gone from 6 to 19 reps, all during COVID. They recruited me. They recruited me to recruit them. Right? I didn't recruit anybody, which we're going to start doing. But I think that with COVID, when I look at my 2 sons, right? COVID was the greatest thing for them in terms of basketball and their grades. Grades first, basketball second, for sure. I have 2 boys that Trevon trains, by the way, phenomenally. I do recommend it. And we've been doing open gyms now right here in Mumson for 2 months. The kids that show up religiously are getting better. But the thing that happened to my 2 sons, if you recall, last, May, June, and July, we used to dribble in the garage because there was nowhere to go.
Right in the garage. Right? Just making it happen.
We just did it in the garage. And now all of a sudden, my one kid is just like stepping into his acceleration mode. But my other son, we didn't really know if he was going to make the freshman team. He makes the freshman team of a really good school, right? And in 8th grade, I don't think that was even possible. From a belief perspective.
When we started, it wasn't looking the best at first.
No,
but it wasn't. He put his head to the ground, and we got to work. And the results followed. I think, and And I think that's what's beautiful about, we're using a bunch of basketball analogies and things like that.
That's what I know.
It's the fact that when you put time into something, you put in energy, effort, and you really give it your all, it pays off.
But here's what I'm noticing. As I'm growing through this business, I'm noticing my flaws when I see my kids.
Really?
That I pass down onto them.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed with Robert, the fears that he has, no different than I'm having right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed with Riley, because I'm also having massive successes, on how he takes the foot off the gas.
Gotcha.
I see that in both of my sons. Mm-hmm. It's the bifurcation.
Yeah.
It's amazing on exactly what I'm experiencing right now.
So, that actually, I want to ask you this, right? So, you grow up in Bayonne.
Yep.
You don't come from much, right, in terms of your parents aren't necessarily financially literate and everything like that. And now you're managing a $1.2 million revenue company. Like, explain to me, what, like, in terms of, was there a moment where you kind of had to really think through, okay, I'm managing some serious amount of money here, right? Like, because I explained the point in the sense of, like, when I was younger, right, $20 was like, I got $20, right? Yeah. And you grow up, $20, like, whatever, right? That's not about that.
Yep.
Like, explain to me that process of where you're making these deals and business talks and things like that. You're talking the numbers, you're talking.
Yep.
Was there like an adjustment to that?
Absolutely.
Where you're like, whoa, we're talking a six-figure, five-figure deal? Like, whoa, like was that a thing for you?
Yeah, so the first way to success, I didn't take any money and dump it back into my company. Mm-hmm. I took it and dumped it into my lifestyle. Okay, right? I bought a boxing promotional company for $100,000. Silly move, right? If I took that same 100 and dumped it into recruitment and other things, I would have perpetuated even more success. Right. I bought cars and gold chains and paid for people. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. Hired people that were my friends. Yeah. There's one other thing I did that I want to share. I forget what it was now. It's pretty funny. I rented a house on LBI for $40,000 for 2 weeks, straight out of cribs. Yeah, like silly stuff like that. Right. What I'm now doing is deploying money back into the business. Gotcha. So we hired a COO, a lot of money into him, and he's been structuring and organizing everything in this world that we have. We're finishing a month that's one of our best months ever in terms of the revenue that came in, but I think at the same time, we are establishing future months based on what we're putting in right now in our pipeline. Yeah. Right, in our piping, in our future business. Mm-hmm. So I would never have thought like that in the past. Gotcha. You get the check, you spend it, you take your foot off the pedal. That's not happening right now. Gotcha. So that would be the adjustment that we're making. Almost like, hey, if you have a great game, what are you going to do the next day?
Right. You got to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely no different.
That's very dope. So how do you find the right people? What's that been like?
That's a great question. I believe in karma. Mm-hmm. I believe in energy that you put out there. I believe that there's positive energy and there's challenging energy. Mm-hmm. And I think people start to find you. Mm-hmm. Right? That's happening. Okay. But I also think that you have to go through the process like anything else.
So with your daily routine, I want to ask you, do you have any like visual motivating pieces for you? Like, is there anything like a poster or something like that in your house that you look at and it empowers you?
There isn't a poster, but what I do is when I'm in really good rhythm, I'll prime. Okay. And what that means is it's an exercise that I learned from Tony Robbins, where you do it's about 9 to 12 minutes, but the first 3 minutes are gratitude, and you visualize things in your life that you're grateful for, right? And go back to that experience, right? And really embrace what that felt like. And you send out blessings to the ones that you love. And then another 3 are healings, right? Visualize your mind and your body being healed and, just connect them to the universe. And then the last 3 are what your 3 outcomes are, right? So what you want to get done in the next 30 or 60 days, and visualize whatever it is you want to get done, the feeling and the action of what that looks like, if it was all in color, and then how you feel based on that outcome hitting. So those, it's like no different than, and I'll use a basketball analogy. If somebody is to close their eyes and visualizing them, making plays in a game and reacting to what the defender is giving them, not trying to predict it. If they're saying go left, go left. If the defender's letting you go right, just visualize you doing that, making layups, hitting shots, throwing good passes, making good defensive plays. Those visualization techniques that I used to do back in high school and college is what I incorporate now.
Very nice. So you were always doing that type of stuff?
I did. It helped me a long time ago when I was at basketball camp. I'll never forget that one of the coaches had said, just visualize the rim being like just 3 times the size of what it is.
Right. That's awesome. That's very dope.
So it's no different than if I'm going to sit down and do a financial plan for somebody. I visualize what it looks like, what it feels like, and what the action is.
So now,
talk me emotional feeling tied to it.
I was going to say, so there is like a level of where you almost are purposefully triggering certain emotions in order to elicit the outcomes you want.
Yeah.
Essentially. Yep. Okay. That makes sense. So now, you said that, I want to get into a little bit more about Epic and what you guys are doing here. So you guys, financial plan, right? What else? Like I'll let you explain. You know it better.
Yeah.
What happens here?
So the first thing we do is whenever we sit down with anybody, and it doesn't matter who it is, we want to make sure that we understand what each and every person's economic philosophy is.
Okay.
Forget about a financial plan. That doesn't mean anything unless we know who you are. Right? What is your core values? What is your belief about money? What is your relationship with money? What is your relationship with money as it stands today? Plus, what is your relationship that was handed down from your parents or grandparents or whatever that looks like? That's the first piece, right? And then once we understand that, if you look at the financial freedom map, that's what we call it. There's an end target. Right? A lot of times people really don't know where they are on the map. So we want to identify with each and every person because everybody's different. Somebody in their 30s has different outcomes than somebody in their 50s.
Right.
Different levels of risk, different life situations. So you have to plan accordingly, not in a cookie cutter, not in a one size fits all, but really in a model and methodologies that sits and fits with each specific person, based on your philosophy, based on your goals and objectives. And then we create the plan based on that.
Nice.
And then on top of that, we create your own personal financial website so you could see what your world looks like at all times, based on all the financial institutions that you do business with, what your mortgage is, what your savings account is, what your brokerage accounts are, where you put your tax returns in the online vault, all that stuff, because we always want to monitor and measure everything.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And I can imagine that becomes the capabilities of the entire company is easier when you are bringing people in, right? Like you said, where you're putting money and resources back into the business. Yes. It makes it a lot easier to do the things you guys are already doing.
Yes.
But also add some more.
Yes.
Right? So so tell me the overall feeling now where now you are truly operating in that level of purpose for you, where you are really teaching people, not even just teaching people, I mean, you're basically walking with them in their understanding of finances, that you are truly helping people become financially free and things of that nature. Like, walk me through, what's that feel like for you?
Yeah, well, I think that the first thing we have to do is make sure we train the advisors away from what they were originally trained on. Right? So they have to be able to bring forth that same level of education to people that come through our doors. But being able to tell someone that they have access that, let's say, the wealthy have always done historically over the last 50, 100, 200 years, that we could share with them the same mindset, methodology, coordination, that feels unbelievable. If you think about it, whoever's listening, can you imagine if your accountant was on the same page as your, financial advisor, as your insurance agent and your attorney, if all 4 of those people are working for the benefit of you and for you, and all the oars are in the same, coming out of the boat, going in the same direction, then that's what we offer you, and you don't have to be super wealthy to have that. That's the good news. And all those professionals that I just managed, you don't work for them, they work for you.
Yeah, I think one of the things that also gets misconstrued or is misunderstood, when you're dealing with, I guess, wealthy versus unwealthy, wealthy people really think on a different, they use different terminology. This is stuff that I'm learning. different terminology, different way of going about things. A lot of times, at least from what I've experienced, they don't even think about money. It's never even about dollar sign amount. Like that stuff, like you mentioned it earlier with Sean, it's like with money aside.
It's the process.
It's the process. It's the value, the journey, and things like that. And I think that's honestly interesting because I think even if you apply that same level of, let me reevaluate the terms that I use, my level of thinking with different topics, right? We're talking about finances now, but you know, you deal with that in terms of how people view their goals, how people view their dreams, how people deal with their jobs, whatever it is. If you just change your terminology and how you think about it, if you change and actually put energy into, you know, your routine and things like that, just imagine what type of effect that'll have, you know, and how much further people will be able to go.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
Yeah, and if you, well, the whole thing about routines and rituals, and if you constantly craft them and model them after somebody that's been there, done that at a high level, then you can predict what your future is going to look like.
So
all you got to do is what they're doing and just add 5%.
So first, if let's say I'm an individual, right? Let's say I have X goal.
Yep.
I'm not in direct contact with anyone that is already doing X goal. What advice would you give them, right? If they can't get in contact with a Chris Crone or a 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐞, what would you suggest to those people to do?
You know, that's a great question, and I think that one of the things that they can do, if that's who they want to model after, is begin to take some time and watch the content that they're putting out.
So like social media.
Yeah, I know Chris and Sean are every day there's stuff coming out. Yeah. Right. And if you're saying like somebody has a 9 to 5 and they can't afford one of the programs, right? Then what I would say is, you know, from 6 to 10 o'clock at night, what are they, you know, if they're working a 9 to 5 job, right? From 6 to 10 at night, what are they going to do the best they can to try and understand those messages? And that's the beautiful thing about the world we live in today. YouTube allows them to have some kind of access. Right. And start listening to what they're saying. Right.
So I'm hearing you just say like they
got to sacrifice a Netflix show.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Sacrifice an extra dinner out. You know, put that time in from 6 to 10 o'clock at night, and just listen, take notes, and do the best you can at implementing. And then if you start making extra money, then you know get the coaching.
That makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of times people underestimate the value of just watching that 12-minute video. That you know. Attending that seminar, whatever the case may be, especially now with Zoom calls and whatnot. Like, there's a lot of value in just taking that time to just sit and listen.
Absolutely.
You know, because that's something I recently started doing. And man, I mean, I was telling you, looking at Chris's videos,
it's amazing.
Absolutely amazing what he's doing. Yeah. And so, my last question for you. So, at Craft Your Dream, we have 3 core values.
Yep.
Clear vision.
Yep.
100% effort and consistency.
Yep.
What are Rob Gill's core values?
That's a great question. As an individual or as a business owner?
Let's say as an individual, then as a business owner. As an individual, Rob Gill from Bayonne, New Jersey, what is his core values?
Family first.
Family, okay.
Right. Being able to create not only a life for my wife and kids, but share with them my struggles that created that, so it's not taken for granted.
Okay.
I would love for my children as they get older, use everything they've learned and become their own business people one day. I want to be able to give back, and that's through the education. It's 2 different things. If I said I want to make $1 million versus I want to make $1 million because I want to deploy it back into the community and be able to provide education for people.
Yeah.
And every time I grow, contribute back in, and not keep. You know, I think that would be something that I think about all the time, and how I position that. You know, values and beliefs. You know, they change, right?
Right.
Some are general, some are specific. But I think that for me, I always want to seek being part of something bigger than myself that is making a positive difference in the world.
Gotcha. I like it. So I'm hearing...
And that's just not educating, you know, we're educating people financially, but Listen, I had the good fortune of meeting Tim Ballard. He's the founder of Underground Railroad, which is freeing children from sexual slavery. I mean, that's way more important than financial freedom.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely. So I'm hearing,
like what's happening there is just horrendous.
Yeah, it's crazy. Prayers and for that to be an entity in place, making like you said, real change.
They've saved 4,400 kids in 6 years.
Yeah, that's life. That's 4,400 lives changed.
Yeah.
And rescued.
Yes.
Like that's bigger than any dollar amount.
And it's bigger than the drug industry.
Yeah, 1,000%. Jesus, 1,000%.
Right? And they don't even talk about it.
It should get talked about more. But that's why it's good that those types of entities are in place.
Yeah.
You know? So shout out to Tim Ballard for that.
Yep.
So for you, I'm hearing, just to make sure, confirm, I'm hearing family, education, and just purpose.
Yep.
Those would be your three.
And my purpose is always evolving. A core value would also be, if we're going to go past three,
Go ahead, yeah.
Constantly and never-ending improvement.
Gotcha.
Constant, never-ever improvement.
I like
innovation.
Innovation. I like
no rest. Rest is a relative term. If I'm constantly giving instead of taking, then I'm living.
I like that.
And that leads to fulfillment.
I like that. I like that a lot. That was a gem. Just pick that up. So that is your core values as an individual.
Yep.
What are your core values as Rob, the founder of Epic?
I want to train advisors and agents to share financial education with folks, but only after they understand what each and everybody's relationship with money is, each and everybody's belief about money, and then design plans that are specific for each and every one of those individuals. But they can't do that unless they know that for themselves first.
Right.
I don't want to recruit people that are in this just for the money, although that's how we all started. I really would like to be able to have advisors and agents be part of Epic because they want to change the world. Once again, make the world a better place because people are acting fiscally and financially responsible.
Gotcha. And it's basically in line with your personal ones, really. Yeah. You know, essentially because you're talking about just higher level of thinking, a higher level of value.
Absolutely.
You know, in terms of that purpose, that innovating and things of that nature.
Always innovating.
Yeah, because that innovation, you know, as an individual, right, you always want to innovate as an individual, but at least from what I'm hearing in your answer, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you also want to innovate for others.
Yes.
And right now, Epic is innovating for others in the realm of finance.
Yes.
And I'm certain at some point, as things grow, as you continue to bring people in that are also in line with that, with your purpose and what Epic's purpose is, I'm certain eventually it'll grow into other industries and fields and whatever, but it all stems from you.
Yep.
And that's amazing, man.
Yep.
I love that.
Yep.
I love that. Well, this has been awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the stage and the microphone.
Oh, man, of course. Like I said,
awesome.
Been talking about this for a while, so happy we got it done. But, guys, that's a wrap. Another episode of Dreamer Talks. Appreciate you guys. Subscribe, like, comment, follow us. You can follow Rob so you can see what he's doing here at Epic. It's absolutely amazing. Keep up and appreciate you guys and stay tuned for the next episode.
Love for my love for my love for my love for my